Imagine this: a woman who never held a single official title, never commanded an army, never stood in the Senate, never wore a crown, and yet she outlasted every political rival Rome ever produced. She watched emperors rise and fall. She buried her enemies one by one. And when the greatest man in Roman history lay dying, his last words were meant for her. This is not a story about a queen. This is the story of something far more dangerous. This is the story of Livia Drusilla, the woman who didn't need a throne to rule the world. To understand Livia, you have to understand the world she was born into. 58 BC. Rome is not yet an empire. It's a dying republic, tearing itself apart. Julius Caesar and Pompey are locked in a war that will drown the Mediterranean in blood. Nobody is safe. No family is untouchable. Livia is born into this chaos. Her father, Marcus Livius Drusus Claudianus, is a senator, powerful, connected, and extremely good at making enemies. From the very beginning, Livia grows up watching politics. She sees how men claw for power, she sees how quickly fortunes collapse, and she learns something most Roman men never did. Patience is a weapon. At just 15 years old, she is married to her first husband, Tiberius Claudius Nero. It's a political match. She has no say in it. Welcome to Rome. But here's where it gets interesting. Her husband backs the wrong side in the civil wars following Caesar's assassination. Suddenly, Livia and her young son are fugitives, fleeing across Sicily, running to Greece, hiding in the dark, while a man named Octavian hunts their allies. That man, Octavian, would later become Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. And Livia, she would become his wife. The irony of history is almost too perfect. Here's a fact that sounds like fiction. When Octavian, the most powerful man in Rome, first saw Livia, she was already pregnant with her second child. By her current husband, he didn't care. He divorced his own wife. He pressured Livia's husband to grant her a divorce, and within days of her second son being born, he married her. She was 19, he was 23, and their union would last 52 years, until the day Augustus died. But don't mistake this for a love story. Or rather, don't think love was the only thing happening here. Livia was extraordinary. Ancient sources describe her as beautiful, yes, but more importantly, they describe her as sharp, disciplined, composed. The kind of woman who never lost her temper in public, never showed weakness, never gave her enemies anything to use against her. Augustus trusted her completely. He read her his speeches before delivering them. He asked her opinion on matters of state. In a world where women were legally treated as property, Livia was granted something almost unheard of: financial independence, the right to manage her own affairs, and the ear of the most powerful man alive. She built her own network, her own staff, her own web of influence that stretched across the empire. She wasn't behind the throne, she was beside it. And sometimes, halfway, she was in front of it. Now we get to the part everyone remembers: the deaths. During the reign of Augustus, an uncomfortable pattern emerged. Heir after heir, the men positioned to succeed Augustus, kept dying. Young men, healthy men, men with every reason to live. And Livia had every reason to want them gone. See, Livia had a son from her first marriage. His name was Tiberius, and she wanted him on the throne. So let's go through the list. Marcellus, Augustus's nephew, first in line for succession, dies suddenly at 20 years old, 23 BC. Agrippa Posthumus, Augustus's grandson, exiled and then conveniently executed right after Augustus dies. Timing, suspicious. Gaius Caesar, Augustus's adopted son and heir, dies of a mysterious illness after a minor wound refuses to heal. 4 AD. Lucius Caesar, Gaius's brother, also an heir, dies of a sudden illness, 6 months before his brother, 2 AD. 1 death is tragedy, 2 is coincidence, 4, that's a pattern. The Roman historian Tacitus, who was no fan of Livia, wrote bluntly that she was suspected of poisoning these men. Cassius Dio went further, suggesting she used drugged figs from Augustus's own garden to finish him off when he became inconvenient. Did she do it? The honest answer, we don't know. The ancient sources are biased, dramatic, and written decades after the fact. Livia was an easy villain for a society uncomfortable with powerful women. But here's what we do know. Every single person who stood between Tiberius and the throne died. And Livia was the most sophisticated political operator of her era. You decide. When Augustus finally died in 14 AD, in Livia's arms, according to some accounts, something remarkable happened. His will named her Julia Augusta. For the first time in Roman history, a woman was formally adopted into the Julian dynasty. She was given the title Augusta, a feminine form of the imperial title. She was, in everything but official name, an empress. And then her son Tiberius became emperor. You would think this is where Livia wins. She spent decades maneuvering her son to the top. The plan worked. Game over, right? Wrong. Tiberius hated sharing power, even with his mother. He refused to let the Senate grant her the title Mother of the Fatherland. He blocked honors. He resented her influence. Ancient sources say he visited her rarely and kept meetings short when he did. There's a remarkable story, possibly apocryphal but perfectly symbolic, that a fire broke out near the Temple of Vesta. Livia showed up personally to organize the firefighting efforts, like a co-ruler would. Tiberius was furious. He couldn't erase her though. She was too popular, too embedded in Roman public life. She had spent decades building loyalty that no emperor, not even her own son, could simply undo. For 15 years after Augustus died, Livia and Tiberius existed in this cold war of mother and son. Ambition against ambition. She was in her 80s, and she was still fighting. Here is what gets lost in all the poison rumors and palace drama. Livia Drusilla was one of the most consequential builders in Roman history. Not metaphorically, literally. She funded public works across Rome and the Empire. She restored the portico of Octavia. She built temples. She maintained roads. She supported the arts. She was known for acts of public generosity toward Roman citizens, funding education for children of fallen soldiers, providing dowries for women who couldn't afford them, advocating for pardons for political prisoners. Augustus himself credited her counsel in governing. She hosted salons where the empire's intellectuals gathered. She corresponded with client kings across the Roman world. This is the woman history remembered as a poisoner. The reason is simple and uncomfortable. Rome was not comfortable with powerful women. A woman who wielded real influence had to be explained somehow. She had to be a witch, a manipulator, a murderer. because the alternative was too threatening. The alternative was she was simply better at this than most men. When Livia died in 29 AD, at approximately 86 years old, Tiberius didn't even attend her funeral. He claimed he was too busy. Her grandson Caligula, yes, that Caligula, would later give her funeral oration. He called her the grandmother of the world. It wasn't until the reign of Claudius, her grandson, that she was finally deified, officially recognized as a goddess. Roma Diva Augusta, Divine Augusta. It only took them 13 years after her death to admit what she'd always been. So what do we make of Livia Drusilla? Was she a murderer? Maybe. Was she a genius? Absolutely. Was she a victim of her time? In ways she probably never admitted. Yes, she was born into a world that gave women no formal power, no vote, no title, no legal standing without a male guardian. And she spent 86 years dismantling every one of those limitations, quietly, patiently, without ever giving her enemies a clean target. The men around her got to be emperors. She got to be the woman who made emperors. Some would say that's the lesser achievement. I'd argue, it's the harder one. Rome remembered Caligula for his madness. It remembered Nero for his cruelty. It remembered Augustus for his greatness. Livia, it tried to forget her, wrote her off as a schemer, a poisoner, a cold, calculating machine. But you can't build an empire on poison alone. You build it with vision, with discipline, with 52 years of showing up every single day in a world that never once handed you anything. That's Livia Drusilla, the woman Rome tried to erase, and the woman who outlasted everyone who tried.